The flickering fluorescent light cast long, dancing shadows across the sterile white tiles of the hospital hallway. Dr. Eleanor Vance, her heart pounding in her chest, hurried down the corridor, the silence amplified by the sterile environment. She was on her way to check on a patient, a young woman named Emily who had been admitted earlier that day with a mysterious illness. As she approached Emily's room, Dr. Vance noticed a strange anomaly on the patient's monitor. The heart rate was spiking erratically, then plummeting to dangerously low levels. Dr. Vance rushed into the room, her eyes widening at the sight before her. Emily lay motionless on the bed, her skin an ashen gray, her eyes rolled back in her head. Panic surged through Dr. Vance as she reached for the defibrillator, but before she could use it, a chilling sensation washed over her. She felt a presence in the room, a malevolent force that seemed to emanate from Emily's body. The air grew thick and heavy, the fluorescent lights flickering ominously. Suddenly, Emily's eyes snapped open, but they were no longer Emily's eyes. They were black, bottomless pits that seemed to suck the life out of the room. A guttural growl escaped her lips, and a dark, shadowy figure began to form around her, writhing and contorting like a creature from a nightmare. Dr. Vance stumbled back, fear gripping her. The figure lunged towards her, its claws extended, its teeth bared. She screamed, but the sound was swallowed by the oppressive silence. The figure loomed over her, its icy breath washing over her face. Dr. Vance closed her eyes, waiting for the inevitable. Then, silence. When Dr. Vance dared to open her eyes, the figure was gone. Emily lay motionless on the bed, her eyes closed, her breathing shallow. Dr. Vance rushed to her side, her heart pounding in her chest. Emily's heart rate was steady now, but the fear lingered, a cold knot in her stomach. Dr. Vance knew she had witnessed something truly terrifying, something beyond human comprehension. She knew that the darkness she had encountered in Emily's room was not gone, but merely waiting, biding its time until it could strike again. The air in the old Victorian house was thick with the scent of dust and decay. Rain lashed against the windows, mimicking the frantic beating of my own heart. I clutched the antique locket tighter, its cold metal a stark contrast to the clammy sweat on my palms. The inscription, "Forever yours," mocked me, a cruel reminder of the love I had lost. I had been drawn to this house, a dilapidated relic from a bygone era, by a desperate need to escape the memories that haunted me. But escape, it seemed, was impossible. The house itself seemed to breathe, to shift and groan, as if alive with unseen entities. Tonight, it felt different. A presence, malevolent and ancient, seemed to cling to the shadows, watching me with unseen eyes. Every creak of the floorboards, every drip of the rain outside, sent shivers down my spine. I was trapped, a prisoner in this decaying mansion, haunted by the past and stalked by something else. Suddenly, the locket in my hand grew heavy, vibrating with a strange energy. The inscription, "Forever yours," began to glow with an eerie, otherworldly light. Fear gave way to a strange sense of anticipation. Was this a message? A warning? Or something more sinister? As the locket's light intensified, the house seemed to shudder. A cold wind, icy and sharp, swept through the room, extinguishing the candles and plunging me into darkness. I held my breath, listening intently. A low, guttural growl echoed through the house, growing louder and closer. Then, silence. I fumbled for my phone, my fingers trembling. The screen flickered to life, revealing a single, chilling message. "Forever yours." Terror seized me. This wasn't just a message. It was a taunt, a promise. Something was out there, something malevolent, and it was using the locket to communicate. I stumbled towards the window, peering into the blackness outside. The rain had stopped, and the wind had died down, leaving an unnatural stillness in its wake. A figure stood in the shadows across the street, tall and gaunt, its face obscured by the darkness. It raised a hand, and the locket in my grasp began to throb violently. Panic surged through me. I had to escape. I fumbled for the doorknob, my heart hammering against my ribs. But the door wouldn't budge. It was locked, sealed shut from the outside. The figure across the street began to move, its long limbs stretching out like spider legs. It moved with unnatural grace, gliding across the rain-slicked street, its eyes, burning with an eerie green light, fixed on me. I backed away, my eyes wide with terror. The figure was getting closer, its movements silent but deliberate. I could hear its ragged breathing, a low, guttural sound that sent shivers down my spine. I was trapped. The figure reached the window, its face now illuminated by the faint moonlight. It was a woman, or perhaps something that once was a woman. Her skin was pale and clammy, her eyes sunken and hollow. A single, long, black hair hung down her face, obscuring her features. She opened her mouth, and a sound escaped her lips, a mixture of whispers and moans, a language I didn't understand, but that sent a shiver of dread down my spine. The inscription on the locket, "Forever yours," pulsed with an agonizing intensity. I knew then that I was not alone in this house. I was not just haunted by the past. I was being hunted by something ancient, something evil, something that wanted me, forever. The woman's hand reached through the window, her fingers long and skeletal, adorned with what looked like black, decaying fingernails. She extended them towards me, the locket responding with a violent shudder, as if drawn to her touch. I screamed, the sound echoing through the empty house, but it was lost in the wind. Then, I felt it. A searing pain, as if something was trying to tear my heart from my chest. The locket, now engulfed in a blinding white light, flew from my grasp and towards the woman's outstretched hand. As it touched her fingers, the light intensified, blinding me. I squeezed my eyes shut, bracing for the inevitable. When I finally dared to open them, the woman was gone. The window was empty. The only sound was the frantic beating of my own heart, echoing through the silence. I looked down at my chest, expecting to find a gaping wound, but there was nothing. Then, I noticed the locket. It lay on the floor, the light extinguished, the inscription, "Forever yours," now etched in blood, **.